few reasonably tough days.
You didn't have an electric
we
bike,
raised
no?
just under $5,000. No, I don't have an electric bicycle.
You had lots of wind. Was that?
I had lots of wind.
Get up the hill?
No, they didn't. Funnily enough, it didn't help me get up the hills. It was a headwind.
Get up.
It was a headwind, which is very typical of me anyway, isn't it? I'm full of bloody hot air, so you know.
Well done. I've got to be honest, I haven't donated yet, but I will. So
that's okay. That's okay.
Can you resend me the link and I'll put it at the end of the podcast? And it was for the guide dogs, wasn't it? For guide dogs?
The guide dog, yes. And interestingly, I have to say, it wouldn't. If I'm being perfectly honest, would it have been my first choice of a charity? Probably not. It wasn't one that was close to my heart. However, when I did a bit of research about it, because I felt I wanted to be able to support it. You'd be amazed by the number of people that are actually completely isolated or stuck in their homes because they're relying upon a guide dog to help them just to get out and about. And so actually it kind of then lent itself quite nicely to how I feel about mental health and challenges within that arena. So actually then I kind of was a lot more invested in it than I thought I would be. So it is actually a really, really good charity in support of people who, have to live or want to live independently.
It's amazing when you see them being trained, when they're out and about and they've got that sign on them. Everything.
I love it when they get the socks out of the washing machine as well. I can't even train two men to do that, let alone when you train a dog.
Welcome to the Mortgage Mingle podcast, the podcast made by mortgage professionals for mortgage professionals. Today's conversation comes at a crucial time. We've recorded the episode a day after the airing of a BBC Panorama investigation, which raised serious concerns about conditional property selling, a practice where estate agents favour buyers who agree to use in-house or affiliated services such as their mortgage broker or conveyancing arm. It sparked strong debate about transparency, professionalism and the ethics of the industry, which clearly has ramifications for the mortgage sector. To help us unpack these issues and explore other matters, such as the FCA's ongoing mortgage regulation review, Louisa, Lee, Monty and me are joined by Stephanie Charman, the recently appointed CEO of the Association of Mortgage Intermediaries. Let's dive in. Are we endorsing anything today, Louisa?
No, I did actually buy some of my forest nut things. I bought a 12-pack and I've only had 2 of them. And I didn't bring any to work.
What, today?
I'm in the office. No, because I'm in the office today. I'm not at home, which is where I devour my snacks.
Yeah. I'm so pleased you said that because I was thinking that your bedroom was looking rather sort of office-like, but there you go.
Wow. Today, so this is what one of my colleagues brings me every day.
Healthy.
2 bananas and an orange. Teacher's pet.
I'm going to give a shout out to the strawberry Volvic water today. Beautiful, keeps me hydrated, sweet as anything.
Yeah. Today I'm sponsored by
Sea Pigs.
Accord Mortgages.
Accord Mortgages.
Oh, hurrah.
Are we finished now?
Anyway, see you in the next episode. Moving forwards, swiftly forwards, Stephanie Charman, CEO, Associate. I'll start again. Moving forward, Stephanie Charman, CEO of the Association of Mortgage Intermediaries. Try saying that sober. Hello, welcome. We've been so looking forward to doing this one with you. So, it's great to have you on the podcast.
Steph is wondering why, if the words "I'm a celebrity, get me out of here" work on the podcast.
We've never discussed the safe word.
Okay, right. Yeah, so positioning where it is. I love the fact you call me Stephanie. There's only one person in this world who still calls me Stephanie, and that is my mother if I'm in trouble. So,
that's the last time I'll do it. I'll call you Stephanie, but I didn't want people to think I was being over familiar.
I'll give Monty an idea now. He's going to call me Stephanie.
Stephanie.
So,
what have you done?
First of all, I've said it to you privately. I'm going to say it publicly. I thought you were outstanding delivering your speech and everything at the Amy dinner. I really did. Awesome.
Yeah.
Really, really good job.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And
great team effort.
And I know he's honest because he told me I was rubbish.
You were not rubbish. You were fantastic. We made a fantastic pair.
Well, no, he was average.
I was average, yeah. Paul is my fiercest critic.
Hardly.
It was when you said the swear word, Monty, that you slipped in by accident.
Oh, that was funny, actually. Yeah.
Was that a Freudian thing?
That was Freudian, yeah.
Well, no one was listening, so it's fine. So
So cruel. So cruel.
no, we were. Yes. Anyway, well, yeah, welcome, and
Thank
thanks
you.
for joining us. And I've just done a little sort of preamble intro to tell our viewers. I'm going to try and edit this in record time, because we're recording this the day after the BBC Panorama investigation about the conditional selling by certain estate agencies. So we'll have lots to talk about in respect of that, I'm sure. And who knows? I've got to check my insurance to see if it covers legal bills, but there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But firstly, how long have you been in the role now?
5
As CEO?
months.
Can't believe how quickly that has gone.
It's absolutely, they say time flies when you're having fun.
What's your probationary period, just so we know how interrogatory we need to be on this
2.5 years.
2.5 years. We're coming to the end of it, so let's hope that let's hope you don't be nice to me.
Does that
easy,
mean
go
technically
easy.
I have to have a probation meeting with you?
We do, yes, but that's fine because I'm going to buy you wine.
Oh, that's okay.
Choosing the new CEO, I mean, it was like choosing a new pope, wasn't it? Where was the white smoke? I have to remember. It's quite a long process, wasn't it?
It was a long process because obviously I knew Robert was intentions quite early, and we didn't want to start the process straight away because we weren't ready to announce that, and really it went. We started getting together and talking about a few names and a few people, and some potentials who we thought, and then obviously within the process, there's always people who come out of the woodwork who you don't expect and you're pleasantly surprised by. And so yeah, it was a long process to. I mean, we started. I was in typical Monty fashion. I was a bit behind the curve, so shocker.
In what way?
Just in terms of my time, and then actually getting out, because Robert made his public statement at the Amy dinner last year, and then it took me a couple of months maybe to get my arse in gear to actually do something, but actually the process itself was actually quite smooth, and we enlisted help from the two deputies, Lisa and Tim. Sorry, Tim.
Why is Tim funny? Why?
No, because I'm getting old.
I forget names. To remember his name.
So, yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
obviously,
right.
the legendary Tim.
I thought there was some in joke with Tim. You know, next time I see Tim, I want to go, oh, yeah.
There are probably loads of in jokes for Tim, but he's a brilliant deputy. Actually, he's really good, and also Martin, ex chair, and yeah. So we had a few interviews, and actually, my first call with Steph, because I didn't really know Steph that well, to be honest. I'd met her a couple of times briefly and got on really well with you at the last mortgage Senate, which was brilliant. And the first long conversation we had, Lee, you'll like this, I was playing golf. So I was talking.
Never a good time to catch him, Steph, to be honest.
I know. I was talking to Steph for about 45 minutes while I was playing. No, I played better when I was on a call because I wasn't stressed. And Steph just blew me away with her passion. And the knowledge is obvious, but I'm a heart on sleeve type person, and that passion for wanting to do something, wanting to make a difference, and wanting to help brokers and wanting to promote advice. It was palpable. And then she texted me every 10 days or so. Have you made a decision yet? You made a decision.
Yeah, turning up at his house was a bit much.
I know. I tried everything.
You know the scene from Say Anything at the end. She was standing with
But Steph, as soon as we all knew it was you, we knew you were the right person for the job. No doubt about it at all.
100%.
But what drew you to the role?
So I think. Look, I wasn't looking to make a move. I had an amazing role at Sesame Bank Group, and I loved that. I loved the people I worked with and everything else. And if I'm honest, when Robert first stood up there and he announced his retirement, and once I got over that sort of, oh gosh, I mean, what are we going to do without Robert? We had a bit of both him and me had a bit of a conversation. And if I'm honest, I sort of said, well, I don't have the technical, and I'll still put my hands up and say, I do not have that level of regulatory technical knowledge that Robert has, how he can pull MCOB this rule, PERG this and everything else. I don't have that. I'll learn some of it, but, I don't have that technical knowledge. And he made a really good point to me. He said, how do you know that's what we're looking for? How do you know that's what we're looking for? And it suddenly made me think, that's a really good point, actually. And then Monty and I had a conversation, which was going to be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, quick catch-up call while he was on the golf course. And it just was this, yes, we didn't know each other well. We sort of knew of each other and bumped in and said hello and hugged and kissed at events. But it was just a really natural conversation, wasn't it, Monty? And we could have gone for a lot longer, I think. Yeah. We could have just gone on and on and on. And I think that really cemented, actually, I think I need to throw my hat in the ring for this. Monty's right. I am absolutely passionate about advice. I've worked in the intermediary sector for a number of years. I'm not going to say how many years, because then I can't lie about my age anymore. But, for a number of years, and I am passionate about that. And never has it been more important, actually. Talk about baptism of fire in my first 5 months. And never has it been more important for us to champion the value of advice, and the role that, fantastic mortgage advisors play, in this industry. So yeah, I think, that's what drew me to it. It was a seamless process, but it was rigorous. And to sit in front of people who are your peers, and have those conversations, and then go to events just afterwards and pretend like nothing's ever happened. You've never had a conversation. When actually what you really want to do, because let's be honest, we're all human, you really want to go, how did I do? It's all right. But you don't, because you're really professional. You put a big smile on and go, oh, how's your day been? So yeah, it was really hard, but I'm absolutely delighted. And what I will say is an absolutely overwhelming feel of support from friends, colleagues, peers in the industry who want Amy to succeed. And are just there to help and support. And that's been really, really, that's been fantastic. And that's what keeps you going when you're having a bit of a roller coaster.
And we were obviously a bit nervous about whoever would come in. We were very, we didn't want just Robert too, because A, there is no Robert too, and B, why would you put pressure on? And actually, in Robert's own words, the world is moving, so we need something different. The moment Steph was appointed, the amount of messages I got from people saying, great choice, you got a great one there, from people who I wouldn't have expected, actually. And that is when we did the right thing here. And Steph has blossomed and taken to it like a duck to water, and the team are fantastic and they support her and she supports them really well. It's lovely to see.
And Steph, as you absolutely rightly mentioned, it's a key time for brokers, especially in the industry right now, with this mortgage regulation review paper. I think it's DP 25/2.
Yes.
That I put something out on them earlier last week and had actually a massive take up on that. And it is a slog to get through that, but it covers so many areas of lending. All the way from later life through to bridging finance, doesn't it?
It is. It's everything on the kitchen sink. I think. And I think that, look, I think we welcome an opportunity to have the discussion. So I think it is time for innovation. It is a slog, though. It's 72 pages, I think, off the top of my head. And 37 questions for response. And lots of those questions are very wide. And there's also lots of what more could we do? And that is just how broad do you want to go there? So I think, and we'll probably get into a bit of the detail on it. I think it is broad. I think the link between that and CP 2511, which Monty and I have talked about in depth, is the two are the two really interlink. And I think my real concern is the response time. They have given us longer for the discussion paper, which is much appreciated. And the 4 weeks we got for the consultation, not long enough at all. And this whole cart before horse piece really worries me. You cannot make the fundamental decisions as part of the consultation without taking that into relation in the discussion paper. So
do you think we're promoting it enough as an industry to say, look, get involved?
I think we all need to do our part. I think it's early days because it is a slog to get through. It's been out a couple of weeks. We've got some summaries coming out later this week, and a request for people to get involved. We're putting working groups because our response will be formulated by the views of lots of different people. It's not just the Amy view. We obviously have a view and have a stance, and we'll put that regulatory technical knowledge behind it as well. But there's lots of other people that need to speak in. So in addition to talking to the other trades and making sure, within competition laws, you're aligned and you're having those conversations and then lobbying into regulators. So much more we can do. And I think it will ramp up, Paul, as we go through the next couple of weeks. And
one of the areas that it sort of hints at is less advice, more execution only. So what are your thoughts on that?
Quick poll, where do you think I stand? Being facetious, but yeah, boo. Look, again, all for innovation, but we really struggle to get to. I really struggle, and I know I'm pretty sure you all do too. How we get to a point where 97% of customers receiving advice is a bad thing. There is choice today. So lenders who choose to offer execution only routes do so today. So how is it a bad thing that customers are voting with their feet and choosing advice? Why do we want to mess with that? So I'm all about customer choice. I'm all about, so that's absolutely fine, but the choice is there today. And I think I worry about customers making uninformed decisions. That's my biggest concern.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much more about the paper that we can go through. But I want to relate that now to the Panorama program. What can we put in place that helps us trust, initially trust our advisor? I'm thinking, I'm now at the age where I've got friends' kids that are first-time buyers, and they all come to me, and obviously I can't give advice, but they might suggest, I might be suggesting an advisor for them and that sort of thing, because they're saying, we really want to speak to somebody that we can trust and everything else. And of course, the vast majority of the industry is incredibly trustworthy. But when you see programs like last night, which actually were, the mortgage brokers were sort of guilty by association, weren't they? It wasn't. Well, I suppose there was some of it, if you want to talk about it, that you could argue from a data protection point of view was pretty bad. But essentially, what can we do? What can we put in place there that if I'm a first-time buyer and I'm coming to, Lee or Monty, that I can, that I can feel really sort of and safe and trust in my advisor?
It's quite a question, Paul. Louisa?
I'm thinking. I think it's less about the mortgage transaction, because that is actually fairly straightforward. It's all of the other things like conveyancing. What does that mean? Insurances. What does that mean? How long am I going to pay this fixed rate for? What does that mean? And I think it's all of those ancillary products or ancillary services that actually make it more complicated. And that's the bit that needs explaining more to your mortgagee.
I mean, it was quite sickening watching it, really, wasn't it? How we've been here so many times before. We've seen it so many times. We've seen it on so many documentaries, and you kind of hope and feel that it's disappearing. But when you're transacting mortgages daily, like myself and Monty, it still comes up. You still hear it. That's why we know Section 9D of the Estate Agencies Act, and we can quote it, and we're aware of what it is.
Now, you put that on LinkedIn earlier, so for those that don't know, just remind us what that is and what that what the power that it gives.
Is it
9D?
It's 9D.
Yeah, Section 9D. So the Code of the Estate Agencies Act. It basically says they have to put forward every single mortgage, every single property offer they receive, and they can't hold anything back in relation to any ancillary sales, so to speak. So every offer has to be positioned and presented to the vendor. So a lot of what came out yesterday was people saying that they can't actually present their offer unless they use their in-house brokers, that kind of stuff, which is a breach of the Code of Estate Agents. But I think fundamentally the main issue is the lack of regulation in estate agency. I think that's something we've got to somehow address, but how you address that I do not know, because we've been crying for that for ages. I think other than trading standards, there's nothing that regulates them, and that and there's no repercussions of that regulation that's there at the moment. So
no,
is it a voluntary code?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. Voluntary code. So there's no enforcing of the rules effectively.
I think that's the big thing for me. Yeah,
it shows the integrity of the agent that you're dealing with. They subscribe to that code and they're not adhering to it. So it tells you everything you need to know about that estate agent's discretion. And unfortunately,
I think you've got
a bad name.
Mortgage brokers who are heavily regulated. You got the legal part, which is regulated. Valuers are, they got their own. But the only part that isn't regulated is estate agency. So I would, from a personal point of view, I would support regulation of estate agents, and I think this is one of the things that you have to regulate for, because there needs to be these walls between a mortgage broker and an estate agent, and that's a problem. There shouldn't be any time where anyone feels, whether overtly or covertly, that they have to use an estate agent's recommendation. Now, that's not saying, by the way, that estate agents don't have a right to do that, because they do have a right to recommend. We all recommend people. We all have surveyors who we recommend. We all have solicitors who we know do a good job.
Do you actually recommend, though, or do you say, look, I know this guy does a good job?
No, we recommend.
There's a difference, isn't there?
Why not? We recommend. Yeah, of course we do, because we know they do a good job. We know they're not overly expensive. We know that they're going to get a good service.
In fact, funny enough, we actually refer the same solicitor, myself and Monty, same company that we've both dealt with over the last 15, 20 years, which is done through reputation, because we know how good they are.
Yeah.
Is that the one that takes you to Ibiza?
That's the one, yeah. Have you met them? Edit, scratch, get rid of that.
I was going to say, is there any reciprocation?
Yeah, thanks for that, Paul. Look, we and as a good solicitor and a good broker will say what the payaway is. And I think there's nothing wrong with that, and there's also nothing wrong with an estate agent saying, actually, I want to get you checked out because I want to know you can afford this property. And there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is when they say, if you don't use my broker or if you don't use my solicitor, that's the line. Because
it's actually a good service for their vendors, isn't it? When you're doing effectively a qualification, 100%. It's a great service to offer. But there's a very blurred line there, and it's often crossed. And when it's crossed, that breaks down the whole system.
Yeah, and good estate agents will tell you the amount of transactions that fall through because actually the buyer can't afford it. And that's what they're trying to, and then they get it in the neck from their vendors.
Are the big chains of sort of brokers, or the really big firms, the ones that are linked to like your Connells, etc., are they members of AMI?
Yes, some of them will be.
Yeah,
yes, some of them will be members. Yes, and I think, look, I echo everything that everybody said. I think it's it's practicing that we know has happened. I think there is a piece to say we recognise that the estate agent groups will have, when this has been raised before, look to take action if we identify. I know that pieces have been identified. If we identify sort of people that are acting this way, they do look at training and they do look at taking action on particular members of staff. So I think it is disappointing to see the programme and what it highlighted and what it showcased, and that we're still where we are. So I think, we would welcome, we would welcome regulation. I think what we're talking about here is transparency and creating a fair, level playing field, and just putting the customer, let's not forget, it's the customer at the heart. And that's,
and there are some amazing brokers that do work for the big chains.
Yeah,
and if I was one of them, I'd be so peed off right now after last night.
Exactly the same. You can't forget that there are so many businesses out there that do this well and adhere to it very, very well and offer a great service for their vendors and for the buyers. So it's very easy for everyone out there that is doing a fantastic job that's linked to them to have been tarnished by the brush of what they saw last night, and it could damage their reputations. So it's hugely important to point out that there are some thousands, I should imagine, brokers out there that are doing such a good job at the moment for estate agents and doing it properly. Massive caveat to point out there.
Yeah, I think also it wasn't enormously balanced because it was focused on one branch of a significantly
Yeah.
large estate agency chain. So you had one member of staff that it was really focused on. Yeah, there was a couple of other conversations took place, but you cannot assume that every single member of the Connells group practices in the same way. And I think I genuinely thought it was a pretty unbalanced view, unlike the purple bricks bit, which I thought was probably representative of the of how they set up. I think that they were far more successful than they ever thought was imaginable in a very short period of time, which is probably why it led to so many complaints and people not necessarily getting the feedback and support that they needed.
But we all know balanced journalism's a bit boring.
Well, it is boring because it doesn't. It's clickbait, isn't it? You know, if they'd have elected to go and do the same thing in maybe 2 or 3 other branches, they might have got a completely different outcome, and we might not even be having this conversation based on a wider piece of research. This was a very contained piece of research that I don't think was enormously balanced.
I think it's about. I think companies and all companies have to think about how they target their people around cross-selling. Let's call it what it is, cross-selling, and how they target them. And that was probably the issue that hit home to me a bit more than anything else. Is there shouldn't be a circumstance or a culture where people feel that they have to do that because otherwise their job is at risk. And that's a problem. Whether that's real or imagined, that's where it sort of manifests itself. So, and I think that's what you need to look into. The other thing I would say is, and I'll get shot down for this, I don't believe for a minute that the heads of these companies, that's what they're asking people to do. I don't believe that. I don't believe that you're sitting at the top of some of these big institutions and you're saying, I want this, I want this. I don't see that. I genuinely don't. And I also see some of the things that happen behind the scenes and people get removed for doing the wrong thing. And yes, it will be done quietly and it will be done behind closed doors. And that's absolutely right. And that's how it should be done. I don't think there's a massive conspiracy theory. I think it's people getting carried away and trying to hit targets to earn more money, and perhaps certain managers putting that pressure on because they feel that's what.
But you don't think there'll be pressure on the actual managers themselves? Right, you've got this target to hit, and it doesn't matter how you achieve it.
To a certain degree, but I've seen it in some of the companies I've worked in the mortgage industry, and we've all been in those environments, especially pre 2007, 2008.
I think I would agree with you, Monty. I think culturally, I don't think that is the message that will be coming from the top. I think what you've got maybe some over-exuberant salespeople that thrive on achieving target and maybe have high expectations from a salary or a commission base. But at the end of the day, each and every one of these estate agency branches will have to be viable. They'll have to pay for themselves, because you can't have a loss-making proposition. You can't do that. So at some point they've got to think about how they do that, whether that be through ancillary sales or whatever, but not in a forced environment, which is obviously what this kind of hinted towards last night.
Having those structured the targets does make it difficult for those that are put in that position, though, doesn't it? I think. So I think maybe that's something that they should look at the top, is the removal of those targets. So it's not something that they're forced to hit, forced to push, and forced to,
Which is what happened.
I think it'd be incredibly brave and a really amazing marketing initiative to do that.
But if you remember, for those of us that worked in kind of retail branches of banks and building societies, as they went through that kind of regulatory environment, all of those commission structures were removed. All of the targets were removed. You were there to offer good customer service, and by default, you got some good customers. So all of that target environment was removed from banks and building societies and that retail function. And more often than not now, the regulator will not allow you to pay commission. In particular, the FCA will not allow a company to pay commission based on sales activity. So some of those things are already in place because it's regulated. But that goes back to your earliest point, Monty, around, is there a time and a place to now suggest that we need to review estate agents within that regulatory framework because it doesn't exist.
Before we move on to Steph, just one last question for Lee and Monty. As a percentage of your working month, how many times do you have to talk about this Section 9D and actually say to your clients, look, this is the situation?
Well, for me personally, it's not loads. A lot of our stuff is repeat business. And existing client banks. So we do have estate agents we deal with, so not loads, but the first time buyer market has been booming this year, absolutely booming with the relaxation of the LTI caps and stuff like that. We're getting more and more first time buyers come across, and it's the first time buyers that are the ones that are primarily targeted. And they're the ones that are led, unfortunately, and they're the ones that need the advice. So they're the ones we tend to mention it to, and it empowers them a little bit when they're in that conversation. So it knows they can't be bossed around by the estate agents they're dealing with. It shows knowledge from their side and just gives them a little bit more confidence. But that was a very waffled answer. So to give you a stat, I'd probably say 10, 15%, not a lot.
Yeah, I'd probably even say I'm made aware of maybe one a month. It's not, it's certainly not as much as it used to be.
Yeah.
Certainly not. But yeah, I guess there are other brokers who would maybe say, oh, it's all the time. And I guess it depends on whereabout you work and the type of clients you get.
But it's not done retrospectively, Paul, for me. I actually arm my first time buyers when I'm having that conversation with that before they go out.
Yeah.
Because
that's a great idea. And it's great advice for other brokers out there, maybe brokers starting out in the industry, that sort of thing.
Because 9 times out of 10, the first time buyers come to us to do a decision in principle, get an idea of what they can borrow. And that's the early stage when I would say at that point, just be aware if you're going into agents, they may push their services on you. If they do that, just mention this, let them know you know what you're talking about. So prevention better than cure, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Steph, are you getting brokers coming to you directly? I know you've only been in the role for sort of 5 months, but are you getting them coming to you directly and saying, oh, I could do with a bit of information on this or a steer on that?
What, around this particular topic?
No, just generally.
So yes, I think there is definitely some areas. I think technology is one of them. So I think there is a whole piece around advisors looking at their future tech stack and going, what does that look like? Where do I start? I also think there's lots of tech tools coming to market and they're like shiny little tools, and you could be like a little magpie, couldn't you? And go, well, that's nice and shiny. And you create a whole little nest of nice shiny things, none of which talk to each other, none of which integrate with each other. You've done no due diligence on, you've got no consideration into. So I think there's a real role for Amy to help advisors with, it's not about, we're completely agnostic on what tool you take. So it's got nothing to do with the tool you take, but just the due diligence, the consideration, and actually helping them work out how they map through what they want their tech stack to be. So I think technology is definitely a real piece. I think that there's a whole, and all the other things that I know you've spoken on this on Mortgage Mingle about lots and lots of times around, all the regulation that's going on at the moment, protection market study, how's that going to impact us? Still to be done, and then just the ongoing market dynamics that we're operating within at the moment, and how do we just navigate through that? Some firms are still looking at consumer duty and how do they continue the embedding consumer duty and the implementation of that and how things will evolve. I think on and on and on, Paul. We're definitely not short of things to do, but I really welcome by advisors coming to us and talking to us and saying this is what we need help with, because actually otherwise we will go down the route we believe is right, but actually if it's not right, we need to be told, and we'll pivot accordingly and quickly and make sure that we do meet the needs of the members.
So on that basis then, what do brokers bring to the consumer duty table that tech or direct channels don't?
I think it's a really interesting question. I think it is around that, and Louisa touched on this earlier, around sort of that wider advice piece. So I think it's not just about, sometimes we think advice and we think, I'm going to recommend you this 2-year product. And I mean, and it's not just about that. It's the wider guidance. And, you're right. You don't get that through an EXO route. You don't get it through, and I think Consumer Duty, you don't get it through a direct channel necessarily, because you pick up the phone or you sit in a branch, and that branch advisor's moved on, that telephone advisor's moved on. So I think it is around, that wider reassurance, guidance, support, ongoing customer engagement post completion. And I think the other piece that I would just talk around is vulnerability as well, and identification. A lot of people talk about identification of vulnerability, and we're doing so much more on that. And there's lots of, talk about magpie little shiny tools. There's lots of tools out there that can help us with that, tech tools. But let's talk about the support that advisors put in place for the customers that they identify. So one, who's best placed to identify that? A tool, or actually the advisor sat in front of the customer who's listening to that and having that empathy? And I think it's the ongoing support that advisors offer to help guide. So I think we get hung up on disclosure rates, we get hung up on identification, but actually I think advisors are very well placed to help a customer through that identifying that.
Yeah. I think actually it's, when we talk about tech, it shouldn't be either or. It's such an exciting time that we're beginning to see the tech support the broker even more. So the advisor can just, spend more time with their client doing the advice piece.
If you actually look back at the broker journey from where it was 2 years ago to where we are now, it is so much more advanced than what it was. I think we just take it for granted, but you sit at your laptop now and you're going through everything, and then the click of a button, you're looking at a criteria, rates, enhancements, all done at the click of the button. This kind of stuff used to take us hours before, and it's all being done in the background now. It's
Where's my laminated sheet of
actually, we had a lender come in and see us yesterday,
and
they had a paper rate guide. I haven't seen one of those for ages. It was almost wanted to hug them.
That's how they'll stand out. That is how they will stand out.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. But we've advanced
as a BDM, the amount of them that have gone in skips over the years,
even putting out a business card being dated now, it's quite strange.
But we're completely, and I think if we look at how it all evolved, I think how can we get around with not talking about AI? If it will be a threat if we pop it in a box and go, oh, that sounds scary, let's put it over there. I don't want to embrace it. I'm not going to look at it. So we'll just pop it over there, because it will just do its own thing. I think it is around how as an industry we embrace it, and actually I use the word augment. How do we augment our processes? How do we drive efficiencies, productivity to actually, as Lee, as you said, to give you the time to then have potentially wider conversations around, if you don't talk about protection today, could you talk about protection? I do think the one thing that does worry me is the amount of people who think, you touched on it, the amount of people who think their jobs will be replaced. And there is definitely, without a doubt, and there's been some headlines in the last couple of days around, some roles not being replaced and graduates coming out of university and looking at roles. And I think ACAS have got a stat of 1 in 4 workers today are worried that their roles won't exist. But actually, if we've got admin people, let's not let them sit there worrying about, will I have a job tomorrow? Actually, let's help them define a career path in this industry. And actually, are they our next future advisors? Are they whatever that looks like? So actually, how do we embrace that talent and work with that talent, as opposed to just letting it sit there and worry that they might not have a role?
The last few weeks, Steph, we've had a couple of interns in with us. And honestly, they have blown our minds with what they know about AI. We just look like dinosaurs next to these interns sitting with us and the stuff they're doing. And I think there's a lot.
And they play snooker.
Yeah, none of them know what snooker is. There's a lot to be said about getting interns in and us learning from them. And getting them into the industry and coming in. We can learn a lot from that younger generation. It's really opened our eyes to it. I think we've had 3 in the last 2 weeks, and they've been unbelievable what they've done.
So, Steph, what message do you have for brokers feeling anxious about the direction of travel?
Look, it's easy to say, don't be anxious, isn't it? I mean, so that's the worst thing to say to somebody who's anxious. Don't be anxious. But I think I would say, don't be. Try not to be anxious. I think, look, we are definitely moving through a period of change, and things are going to evolve. And I think they're going to evolve quickly. I think that's the one thing around any sort of tech enhancement, doesn't it? I mean, it does tend to happen quite quickly. So I think things will look different 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years from now. But I would say, look, think about your business. Try and spend some time in your business if you can. Lots of people, sorry, on your business. Lots of people spend time in their business because they're so. Spend a little bit of time on your business and look at the other areas that you may want to diversify into. So that Lee sort of touched into, specialist areas. There's definitely areas there. If you don't talk about protection today, how can you look at that? Look at your tech stack. So make sure you are future proofing your business as much as possible. But try not and use, I'm a shameless plug for Amy, but there are, the likes of Amy and, all of us on this call today are, we have the best interest of putting the customer at the heart and championing advice. So try not to be anxious. To a certain extent, control what you can control, and we can't all control the direction of travel. So actually control your business and what you can do with your business and set it up for success. Amy will do everything that we can to continue to support that. So will others.
Do you know, on that point as well, I've never really asked you this, Monty. So if I'm a broker and I become a member of Amy, what do I get?
It's a great question, Paul. So I think what you get access to is you get access to all the to the knowledge and all the guides and tools and access to regulatory responses and also individual help. If you need, if you've got a question, you've got a query, the team have been talking to some individual advisors over the last week or so on different things around fair value and consumer duty. So the website is just full with fact sheets and help and support. You'll get access to breakfast meetings. Come along, talk to us, give us your feedback. We'll give you, updates on where we are, and also just that comfort that you are part of that collective voice, continuing to champion the value of advice.
So there's a few people that can answer the phone or emails or whatever.
Yeah, by all means, please email in, and we will where we can help, we will do, or we'll direct you to where you can get help. Amy and a lot of our members, some of the big mortgage clubs and networks will be able to support as well, but we'll be able to direct and signpost accordingly.
I know I'm a bit biased, but the help the team gave me personally and Corico when I was trying to do my consumer duty work was absolutely immense. I mean, just, helping me go in the right direction, look at the right things, spot gaps that I might have missed. They were fantastic, and that makes such a difference.
Yeah. I was going to say, especially, you may argue differently, but especially if you're directly authorised and you're in a smaller company, that is invaluable, isn't it, that support?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And, issues that, some brokers might have a couple of issues with lenders maybe, and we can maybe help there. And there's loads of different reasons for getting in touch, from a simple compliance question to I need to speak to the FCA about something, I'm not sure how to go about it. There's so many different things.
So Steph Charman, you have had a varied career. What personal values have guided your journey?
Wow, have I had a varied career? I suppose I have. I've had lots of roles, and it's been a journey, and what a fantastic journey, I would say, Paul. I think, I think there's a couple of pieces. For me, collaboration and partnership. You can't do it all yourself. So surround work in a team. Surround yourself by people you trust, people you enjoy working with, because gosh, we spend a lot of time at work. So spend time with people you enjoy working with, work with people that encourage you, to push you to learn something new. I think I'm a massive supporter of working in mortgages and the mentor-mentee platform that we have, and it helps so many people. But your achievements are yours to create, and I think you have to take ownership of your own career. It's fantastic advice I heard from somebody who may not be too far away from me virtually on this call. Mention no names, Louisa. But actually, you've got to take control of your career. So you can have mentors, and I think it's always good to have mentors within your business, but also mentors that are outside of your business who will help you and guide you. But the hard work is down to you.
Who or what has shaped your leadership style the most?
Wow. I think it is, look, I was very lucky. I came, and I'll give you an example, but I've worked for some really, really good, strong female leaders, and with some very, very strong, inspirational women at a time when, and again, not mentioning years, because again, I can't hide it, but at a time where actually this market was, this sector was male dominated. And I remember going to an event very early in my career, And this is advice you would never give to somebody today. But I remember going to an event and coming back and saying I was the only woman in the room. And the advice that I got back was, you got two choices. You either don't go to things again, or you learn how to deal with it. Now, that is not advice you'd expect to give to a young woman today. And I'm really, really grateful that that is not where we are today. Really, really grateful for that. But it did help shape, where I am, how I approach things, what I do. And so I think that strong female, operating in a market, so putting yourself out there and learning how to deal with that sort of, lack of diversity, I think has really shaped who I am. But I'm also, as I said, I'm massive around bringing people together, having those joint conversations. Nothing gets done on your own. So I think, the two parts together have really sort of played for me. But I think, been very lucky for the inspirational women that I've worked around and with.
Yeah, well, there are many around, and it's and many more these days, as you say, quite rightly so. So when you're not immersed in mortgages and everything, Amy, how do you unwind?
Oh gosh, that's a personal question. Wine, yes, wine, without a doubt. I think that there's two things that are really important to me, and I probably should think about how I position these two actually, because I'm going to start with Wilson, which is probably wrong actually when you hear the second one. Wilson is my bearded collie, and I just absolutely adore him. Don't ask me to pick favourites in my family because I've led with Wilson, so there you go. He is just great he's great for cuddles, which I love, and but he's also great for that dog walk, that helping you unwind. I'm lucky I live down on the south coast, so nothing better on a cold winter's day than getting Wills and we head down to the beach and it just clears your head. And it actually then clears your head and helps you think. So I think there's Wilson is massive for me. And then I am very lucky to have a blended family. I have my son, who I do love, even though I've mentioned Wilson first. I have my son. I also have 4 stepchildren who are all now grown up, and I now have 8 step grandchildren who keep me very busy and who I absolutely love. And if I get to spend time with them and feed baby goats at the same time, even better. So they keep you young, and they definitely keep it real. Even Saturday, I was told, you're just too old for that, nanny. I was like, thank you for that. That makes me feel better. Excellent.
And then, of course, there's Disney.
There is Disney,
yeah. I was waiting for that one.
Well, I'm sorry, this is something I didn't know, that Steph likes all things Disney.
Yeah.
Not that I've got a few quick-fire questions all about Disney.
Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, God.
Sorry, Paul, I stole your thunder.
Yeah.
So tell us about your fascination with all things Walt.
Yes. So I do love Disney, and I love going to Disney, and I love a Disney film. And the grandchildren are fantastic for that. Do you know what I mean? So nothing better than a little bit of, Frozen. I was going to say Let It Go, but then we're going back to the very beginning of this conversation and Louisa's bike ride. But, a little bit of standing on the sofa and, and everything else. So I love the films. I'll tell you what I love about Walt Disney. It's going to sound really, really corny, but if you actually go right back to what Walt himself was looking to create, and he created the films, he created the parks, definitely very much around about how do you bring family together to create memories. And if you just sit back, and I am in my happy place when I'm stood on Main Street looking at the castle, I am a big child. I will have my Eeyore rucksack on, and I will have my Minnie Mouse ears on. There is photographic evidence, and I am unapologetically shameless about it. I go for it full on.
You want to see some of Monty's costumes, don't worry.
We can share. I've got Tinkerbell wings. We can share, Monty. And I love that innocence. If yours are better than mine, I'm just saying. I just love the innocence to it, and so that is what I love about it. I also love the fact that I get to plan a holiday that needs a lot of logistically planning, and I get to put spreadsheets together, and give my husband a structure on Tuesday at 10:15. We will be stood here by this bin to watch this parade. He loves it.
I bet.
How many times has he seen Frozen?
He's quite happy that some of the older boys in the some of the older grandsons are now at a point where they can come and do sing in the garage and do boy stuff, so they don't have to sing Let It Go anymore.
Every time you're at an event now, someone will sort of come along with
Start
some sort of
singing to
Disney
you.
merchandise.
They do,
I was thinking,
and I will join in.
Yeah. So it's become tradition now that we do some quickfire questions.
It's embarrassing.
And so you just got to prepare yourself, get ready.
Okay. Well, then.
And they may need some thinking about. Let's put it that way.
So not that
Okay.
quick.
There's going to be some difficult choices here to make.
Oh, okay. Go on then.
Are you ready? Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Mickey or Minnie?
Mickey.
Scar or Ursula?
Ursula.
Elsa's Palace or Cinderella's Castle?
Cinderella's Castle. The other one's too cold.
Be Our Guest or Let It Go?
Be Our Guest.
Aladdin's Flying Carpet or Ariel's Dinglehopper?
Flying carpet.
Why you said it?
It's the way you said it.
What's a dingle hopper?
Yeah, that's not. It's not going there, Louisa.
Yeah, did you make it up?
We've got a very professional person we're interviewing here.
Really?
Jungle Cruise Q or High School Musical Sing Along?
High School Musical sing along.
Sebastian the Crab or Lumiere the Candlestick?
Lumiere.
Olaf as your PA or Genie as your holiday planner?
Olaf, because I love the holiday planning.
Sing with the Muses or Dance with the Seven Dwarfs?
Oh, Dance with the Dwarfs.
Yeah. The last question. The fairy godmother appears and grants you one Disney-themed wish. What do you ask for?
I would ask for, this is going to sound really corny, I would ask for everyone to have the opportunity to go at least once if they wish to.
Oh, I like
Nice
that.
wish.
No, it's a
That's a
lovely,
lovely
beautiful
wish.
answer.
If they wish to, because it's not for everybody, but yes. Or I could have gone with ticket that's paid for life.
No, you wanted a fast pass, didn't you, really?
Yeah, permanent fast pass.
Permanent fast pass. But yeah, I would, because I think it's got something for everybody. And the first time we went, and I'm not going to say how many times we've been, but it's a few. First time we went, my husband, who's a bit grumpy, he's a bit like Victor Meldrew, for anybody who can remember Victor Meldrew, but I love him. And he said, we're only doing this once because this is expensive and Mickey's fairly boring. So you're doing it once and that's it. Within 2 days, my Victor Meldrew husband had just magically transformed into something else, and he just loved every minute of it. And it was him who said, I think we're about day 5 or 6, when we come back. So I think there's a little bit of magic in there for everybody. There you go.
Steph Charman, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.